gentlemen, and anything in between, man. We back here with Unc and Phew, episode 6, season 2, episode 6. Sorry for being a little bit late, man. We had to handle some things in the back screen on the back end, but I want to say welcome to everybody who's watching the show. I think this is our last virtual show because we're going to be in person next week. Are we going to be in person next week, Unc?
All signs are pointing towards yes on that one. So yeah, unless there's some bizarre act of God, I should be in O Town for
Let's
next
do it.
Saturday.
Let's do it. I'm hyped up, man. It's gonna be a good
Yeah,
time, and we're gonna have a live broadcast, man. You're probably gonna be seeing some drinks flowing, some jokes going. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
be a good time.
Well, and of course it'll be Saturday afternoon, not Sunday. So we'll probably be like peeping some college ball, which is always fun.
Oh
But
yes,
that'll be on in the background while we're doing this podcast, right? So I think it's going to be kind of dope altogether, right? It's going to be very cool. A
it's
nice
gonna
little
be.
change of pace from our home studios. We'll be out there amongst the people.
Yes, sir. It's this is the thing, right? For me, like I work a hybrid job, right? So I have obviously online meetings, and nothing beats being in person, man. I'm like,
Yeah,
bruh, let's actually vibe in person. But
yeah,
obviously with
man.
you know distances between me and Unc, we're still gonna do it for you. We're still gonna rock with you every week. We're gonna give you our
Well,
takes. We're gonna give you what you need, man.
you know what?
Hmm.
What this will remind me of is like the first time we ever met at
Yes,
Jasmine's graduation.
yes.
Right? We were live and in person, right? We met for the first time at that table, and we
Hmm.
immediately went into ESPN mode. We just started talking football and sports, and I was just like, yeah, I relate to this guy right away, right? You were even wearing like a button down collar and shit. I was just like, yeah, I can talk to this guy, right? I mean, this guy
Yeah.
is totally accessible and approachable, loves his sports. So, yeah, we're going to rock that vibe next weekend.
I'm excited for that, man. The simple
Yeah, dude.
fact that we actually get to link up, man. It's been a minute. But you know
Yeah.
what's been a minute as well? It's been a minute since the damn Cowboys have done anything significant. Let's start off with that.
Well, they
Let's start
won.
off with that. And that's right. We getting into it. They won their game
Hmm.
Monday night versus the Chargers 20-17. Unc, talk to me. What did you think of that game, man? For me, I'm like, are we convinced about Dak? How do we feel about Dak and the Dallas Cowboys? How do we feel about that, man?
Well, the first thing that we feel is that I was correct in covering Dallas covering the spread in that game. So
They
yes,
did.
with
That's
three
three, yeah.
points, they covered that 1.5 point spread nicely on the
Yeah.
road. Thank you very much, Unc Football.
Let's go. Let's
um,
go. Round of applause, Unc, with the line. Let's go.
um, Congratulations, he went 1-1. Mister Coin Flip he's out there again. um, but anyways, yeah, no, but we thought they would probably be a high scoring tilt. We thought it would go over that 51 over under. They had fairly high over under prediction,
Yeah.
but no, it ended up being a fairly defensive game.
Mhm.
2017, Dallas won. And my impression was that game manager Dak was back,
Yeah.
immobile. He got sacked, what, 5 times? So yeah, kind of a rough night for Dallas in general against the card, or pardon me, against the Chargers. They should have made short work of the Chargers. To
The
be quite
Chargers.
honest with you,
Mhm.
the Chargers have been underperforming in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dallas should have shown out a lot more than they did, in my opinion. So yeah, chalk up the
Mhm.
W, chalk up the cover on the road. Nice, all very impressive, but not quite the Dallas that we thought we were seeing in the first month. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be curious to see what happens with Dallas going forward in November, because we had first thought that they had great things on the horizon, possibly, but no. My opinion on Dallas right now is they're probably a top 15 team at best.
Yeah.
I would imagine them in the best case scenario taking probably the number 5 or 6 or 7 seed as a
Mm.
wild card. They're definitely
Yeah.
not going to catch. They're not going to catch Philly in their division. So yeah, yeah, Dallas has some work to do just to hold on to some fair to middling prospects. But Hey, they got the
I'm
win.
gonna push back slightly on that a little. Yeah. I'm gonna push back a little bit slightly on that because I can see a world where they catch up to the Eagles. Why do I say that? Because the Eagles have been disappointing, especially with their recent loss to the Jets. So there's a way for them to catch up to the Eagles. They could make it a fight around the end of the season. But you're right, though. They're not a Super Bowl contender in my eyes. They're more so of a outside chance. You know what I mean? Because if you have
Mhm.
some trouble beating the Chargers, man, I don't know how you fare against the Niners. You know what I mean? Because we just saw you get your ass whooped, like handed 30 something points. I like
By
even
the
the Lions,
Niners.
like by the Niners,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, how do you think they would do against the Lions? I think the Lions would whoop that ass, dog. I think the
I
Lions would
I think
destroy them.
I think that yeah, no, I think that the Detroit Lions right now would kick the shit out of Dallas.
Oh yeah, like a
Detroit,
drum.
yeah,
Oh, oh.
Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are a kind of undervalued team right now. I think they're flying under the radar. I'm not sure how they've managed to pull that off, given the 5-1 record, given how they started the season beating the Chiefs on national
Mhm.
television to open the season for the NFL. So, yeah, Detroit, I think part of it is
Yeah.
just the historical shock of seeing Detroit put together back to back seasons of competence.
Mhm.
If you measure them over the last 16 games, so last season, the end of last season, and this season, like 13-3.
Mhm.
And Jared Goff
Yes.
has put up something like 4,400 yards in passing, 66, 67% completion record. And yeah, and so yeah, Detroit is really looking solid, despite some injuries at running back right now. But that did not deter them when they went to Tampa last week. They,
Mhm.
yeah, they had like a really pathetic kind of running game. I think it had 100 yards in total, guys, something like that. But they threw for 350
Mhm.
yards to the wide receivers. So Detroit showed themselves able to adapt against a team we consider to be a strong defensive team in Tampa Bay. So
Mhm.
yeah, Detroit is 5-1. Also, too, they're five
Mhm.
and one against the spread, 3-0 against the spread on the road.
Oh,
Yeah, like
really? Okay.
Detroit's a really undernoted team so far this year, as far as I'm concerned. I was wavering last week when you asked me about my top five power rankings. I almost made them like 5B next to the
Yes.
Bills. But if yeah,
Yeah.
without jumping the gun too much, yeah, I would put them up a little bit now.
That's what I'm saying. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, really, Detroit, the same team that went 0-16, but they ain't the 0-16 Lions no
It,
more, man. These
it's
Lions are
not
royal.
just it's
You know what
not
I mean?
just the 0-16. It's not just the 0-16 season. In the
Mm,
94 years that they've been a franchise, they've never had back-to-back winning seasons. They haven't
oh,
won a championship of any kind since 1957. Right?
damn.
They really have, yeah. And trust me, as a guy who grew up watching this game over the last 40 years,
Yeah.
like Detroit really has been consistently dependable as an annual disappointment. You can count on them
Wow.
winning less than 6 games a year, just like year in, year out. You can just pencil them in for the bottom of whatever division they were in. And every now and
Mm,
again, they
yeah.
would have, an impressive year, whatever, especially when Barry Sanders was there. I mean, they had a lot of hope. Uh, but as soon as they get into that playoff game, like Sanders would turn it a dud, usually because he was on natural turf all of a sudden or something like really inconsistent team throughout history. So yeah, for a lot of
Mm,
fans, adjusting to the fact that Detroit now has a team that is like a good team that
they're
shows
for real.
year year over year progress. And
Yes. Yes.
yeah, like Detroit is not to be joked with right now. I would put them up against anyone.
Well, you know what's not to be joked with, man? It's our T Swift segment of the week, brother.
What is
this
it this time?
this is our Taylor Swift segment of the week with our new friend right here. Tell me if you see her.
I see her. I see her.
Man, Monday Night Football. I just want to be here, bro. I want to be in front of the stands. Yeah, I mean, in the stands, cheering for my team, cheering for them, going crazy on camera on Monday Night Football, bro. I want her energy, dog. Unc, tell me what you think of the super fan, the Chargers
Well,
super fan, man. Let me know what you think, man.
well, I had to research this a
She
little
even
bit.
went to Pat McAfee, man. She was even on Pat McAfee show.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
she's been an overnight success, apparently years in the making. Apparently, she has
Mm-hmm.
been like sort of trying to go viral for a long time. And it's like, like buying
Oh,
lottery tickets every week. Yeah, yeah. She eventually hit it, right? She eventually hit the number.
wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, like, some people are trying to trash her, saying like, "Oh, she's a Minnesota fan." And there was this mystery about whether she really was a Chargers fan, and it's the most
Hmm.
irrelevant thing in the world. Well, she grew up in Minnesota, or I think it's Green Bay, or anyways, one of those two teams,
Yeah,
either
yeah. She's a
Minnesota or Green
Minnesota
Bay.
fan. Yeah.
She grew up there, but she moved to Southern California 20 years ago. So of course she's got a Southern California team too. It's the most banal thing in the world, to be honest with
Me, like, I just
you.
like when I saw it, I'm like, this is funny. This is a meme. Let's have fun with it, you know. And
Well,
I related it to Taylor Swift because I'm like, the NFL is
well,
pushing for
especially the one
female
picture.
candidates.
The one
Hmm.
picture. I mean, it looks so contrived. She's like, "Go, go!" Like, how
Yes, yes, this one.
stereotypical could you possibly be? Right? Yeah, yeah. The one in the upper left corner there. um, right. So it looks very practiced and rehearsed because it was. But
Yeah.
she's out there having fun, and she made her little dream come true. So I ain't hating on her. Shit,
Me, trust me, Unc. I'm not hating. She's pretty. You know what I mean. She's having fun. I'm not mad at it.
having
You know what I
fun.
mean.
Exactly.
It's like, and then people are like trying to go, oh, she's an industry plant. She's an NFL plant. Okay, so let's go
No,
hypothetically. Let's pretend like she is. So we had a good time. We laughed. We kind of made some memes. Who cares? And if the
right?
NFL is that smart, which I doubt, but if they were that smart, good for them. You know?
Well,
And also,
it's
she's
a
having fun. Who cares, man? You know?
it's a low yield game to begin with. Why would you waste your time trying to set that up when it
Yeah,
clearly just happens organically? You just
facts.
leave NFL fans to their own predilections in the modern social media era. People do this on their own. All you have to do is hitch onto it when it occurs.
My thing is like of all teams, why the Chargers, man? The Chargers always lose close games, and you look at a guy like Justin Herbert, he's going to lose in the fourth quarter every single time. It's like, come on, man, choose another team, you know, choose a
Yeah, I,
winning team.
I think she likes the Chargers because she lives in the area. They're her local team, man.
Yeah,
That's how sports is supposed to be. But
sometimes it's
I
yeah.
guess what
Go
I
ahead.
find amusing is how how desperate she was for the moment. Like she apparently she followed up with the San Diego news station
Yeah,
to say, "Oh, by the way, our names are right." So yeah, that's not the sign of the NFL meddling and setting something up. That's a sign of just
yeah.
a fan who really just wants to be famous for 5 minutes, and she got it.
I
It's
like
great
it,
she went on
man.
Pat McAfee.
She
That's
went
awesome
on Pat
for her.
McAfee, you know what I mean? Like, you know what's interesting about things like this? When you go viral like that, like super viral, right? You can even start a career, like get on TikTok or like even
Sure.
become like a super fan. Like I promise you, right now, the Chargers are gonna hand her free tickets just to advertise, just to advertise. Because whenever you go see Charger games or whenever I see them on the screen, it's filled with the other team's fans. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I'm like,
Well,
what? You know? Hmm.
Los Angeles is one of those unique markets. It's one of those places where it's a magnet for people all around the country.
Yes.
So the same way Florida's good like that too, right? If you
Hmm.
go see like a Rays game or whatever, like chances are, like anytime the Yankees are in town, Philadelphia's in town, Toronto, right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be people who are followers of those teams from the northern areas, that show up in the stands, but they're not wearing Rays fans, even though Rays fans gear. even
Yes.
though their zip code is clearly in the Tampa Bay area. So we see this phenomenon a fair bit in the warmer southern areas. I bet you it
Mm.
happens a fair bit in Phoenix too, right? So
Oh, I promise you, it definitely happens there because I remember, at least for sure,
Vegas,
when I was watching the Arizona versus Cowboys game, right, the one that they lost, ton of Cowboys jerseys, man, ton
yeah,
of Cowboys, and even the game with the Cowboys versus the Chargers, bruh, tons of Cowboy fans, and I'm like,
yeah,
damn,
but
is this like a home game? Like they're basically
well,
playing a home game. You know what I
yeah, they have a national following like that.
mean?
Um, but that phenomena also occurred in New York City. It's sort of like urban legend type of stuff, but it's for real. It happened, but it's no one ever really talks about it anymore. But
Mm.
back when the Blue Jays had a ton of
Yeah.
Dominican players, they were one of the first teams with a real pipeline of Dominican players. When
Okay.
they would go to the Bronx to play the Yankees,
Mhm.
way up in the bleachers in the cheap seats, there would be tons of New York Dominicans wearing Blue Jays jerseys,
Oh, wow.
cheering on George Bell and Damaso Garcia and all those guys. Yeah, yeah. And it's the one place where Blue Jay fans on the road could be safe in Yankee Stadium was with the Dominicans.
Wow. Of all fans, a huge Dominican following.
Right.
Well, we
So
have
anyway, that
the
phenomenon happens. Yeah.
Blue Jays have Vlad Jr. I really like him, man. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways,
Different topic, different podcast.
yeah, fuck it. Let's talk about it, man. What do you think of these MLB playoffs? I don't know why. I want to talk about it with you.
uh,
How you liking the Phillies, Diamondbacks? I've been starting to get into baseball, it's low key.
I really haven't. So you're actually catching me off guard there. I've just been very peripherally watching it. How are they
Yeah.
looking? Tell me.
I actually saw yesterday. It was Astros versus Rangers. These Astros looking good, man. They're batting. They get because Astros were down by two. You know what I mean? By two games, they
Yeah.
caught up two more games. They have one more, I think, tomorrow, and then they're going to the World Series again. Houston Astros, man, making it again. Hopefully,
Well,
they don't cheat like they
it
did
must
a
it
few
must
years
be fun.
ago.
It must be fun for Texas baseball fans, though, man. Like that interstate rivalry, like that. That's kind of like Mets, New York.
Yes, it's pretty cool. You know what I mean? But I'll say this: the Texas Rangers are looking better than the Dallas Cowboys, bro. They're going further too, which is, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
the thing about the Cowboys too is that their fans go so crazy for like a tiny speck of success. You're like,
yeah.
what's going on, man? What's
It
going
get
on?
it gets irritating after a while. That's why it's so much fun to make fun of Dallas fans.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. That Dallas fan starter kit, like those internet memes, they're just hilarious with the crying towels and the
The crying fans at the end of the season, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And the Cowboys don't lose their seasons in like competitive ways, in shocking, crazy ways. Like the last 2 years, they lost to the Niners, right? And it was a pathetic loss both times. I'm
yeah,
like, yo,
yeah.
oh Jesus Christ.
Dallas has not, really reminded me of a solid franchise. The closest they
Mm,
came was during the Romo years, and even they were a disappointment compared to
yeah.
the standard that is Dallas success, right? Which is, the Jimmy Johnson years
Mhm.
and the Tom Landry years in the mid to late '70s. So yeah, yeah. It's been 30 years since Dallas was consistently intimidating team. They played
Mhm.
well in the late '90s. I'll give them that. When
Yeah.
Terrell Owens was there as well too. They were competitive in the playoffs, but really from the 2000s, 2010s onward, I don't really take Dallas seriously, and I largely tie it to the character that is their owner, Jerry Jones. I believe he's
Yes.
more concerned with whatever's happening in his own personal universe than he really is the team itself. I believe he's also one of those types of personalities that doesn't really like to have really brilliant underlings because, he wants to be the star. So that's always toxic in sports.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
not expect great things out of Dallas. I expect occasional flashes of brilliance, occasional players that, despite all of Dallas's best efforts, manage to percolate up to league leader status. right? Guys like
Yeah.
C.D. Lamb right now and whatnot. I mean, they're talented, irrepressible. So, despite all of Jerry Jones' best efforts, they're going to have players that bubble up like that. But for the
Mhm.
most part, I think Dallas is a consistent disappointment in the same way like the Leafs are, the Canadians are these days, right? Teams like that fall into a decades long slump, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's punctured now and again by occasional successes that keep going. Again,
Yeah.
right, right. But if
Like
you
the
look at the
Asian lady.
right, but if you look at the long wave of history with those franchises, it's one of failure.
And you know what? That leads me to something very interesting that we can talk about is that the Dallas Cowboys, actually under Dak Prescott, they have the same amount of playoff wins as with Tony Romo. I think Tony
Mhm.
Romo has only had 3 playoff wins in his
Yeah,
9, 10 year career. So has Dak, only 3. So
yeah,
you just went from one quarterback to another quarterback with the same playoff record, same playoff success.
yeah.
And this was an interesting news in the media recently was Micah Parsons criticizing media guys that, oh, you guys go off on us more than the Eagles, more than the Niners, even though they lost. And for me, in the back of my head, I'm like, bruh, the Cowboys are worth close to $10 billion, man. Y'all
Yeah,
are one of the most, literally the most popular football team in the
yeah.
most popular sport in North America. What do you expect? You guys
I
get clicks, you guys get views. That's why sports shows talk about y'all so much. Like
I
if
would
you
go.
look at Michael Parsons, he's a great D end, right? But you look at a guy in Las Vegas like Max Crosby, amazing defensive end. We never talk about him. Look at Miles
Khalil
Garrett.
Mack.
He's having Khalil Mack. Yes, we never talk about him. Miles Garrett. We barely talk about him. We talk about Michael Parsons because he plays for the Cowboys. He
For
plays for the
Dallas,
Cards.
exactly.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Unc? Did you think they get a bigger light because they're Dallas, or what do you think?
Of course, right? If
Yeah.
you're like the star quarterback in Dallas, if you're the star linebacker in Dallas, if you're the star running back in Dallas, if you are the head coach of Dallas,
Yeah.
you get national attention all the time. Dallas is a team with national following.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So to complain about the attention that Dallas gets uh, from the media is a little disingenuous on Mr. Parsons' part. So yeah, that's a non-starter argument right there. That's like complaining, that when you live in Hollywood and you're an actor of great esteem, that everywhere you go, there's media following me. Well, okay, move to North Dakota, fly into, when you have a role now and again, right? Problem solved, right? Oh, that's inconvenient. Oh, well, all of a sudden we're talking about a different problem now, aren't we? Mika needs to like just enjoy the limelight because he wouldn't like it that much if he was playing in freaking Minnesota.
Right? And Minnesota actually has a good rusher and Danielle Hunter. You know what I mean? I don't think you would like playing up in Cleveland so much. Let's be honest, man.
Well, Cleveland this year, their defense is going to get a lot of attention, actually. But yeah, point
Yes.
taken. Point taken. If he was in a lesser marketplace, he would not be getting the attention that he gets. He would be
Yeah.
one of those guys toiling away in obscurity, while getting really good numbers, etc. So yeah,
Yes. And
that
talking about Cleveland, man, Cleveland shocked. I'm saying me, they shocked me, they shocked the world.
it
They beat
shocked me.
San Fran. Yeah, I mean, what did you think of that game, Uncle? What the hell? I was
Uh,
shocked.
Well, on the one hand, of course, yeah, it was a shock. None of us called for that. We were all like calculating just, by how much they would cover the spread. Would it go to 2 touchdowns, all that type of thing, right? None of us took into account just how good Cleveland's defense is and what
Wow.
an outlier it is to their overall, lack of success this season.
Yes,
I
sir.
guess what we're saying is that if it wasn't for their defense, they'd probably be 0-6 or 1-5 or something instead of like whatever they are, 2-3 or 2-4 now or
I
whatever.
think they're
But
3-3. Yeah,
three and
it's
three,
crazy.
right? So yeah,
Yeah.
knotted up. So they're even, right? So
Mm.
yeah, and I would say that their defense won them that game. Also,
Yeah.
San Francisco lost it, right? Moody had a chance to win the game and missed the field goal, right? It went wide, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
San Francisco could have had the result that we were all expecting for. Cleveland would have covered the spread, and, we all would have been like, okay, all's right with the world. But no, that did
Yeah.
not happen. And instead, Cleveland was rewarded for a balls out
Yes.
effort on defense, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they frustrated the hell out of Purdy. They bottled up McCaffrey in the running game.
Oh
He's
yeah.
dinged up some more. So yeah, that was a brutal, in your face, in the trenches type of effort from Cleveland. Like, bravo, give them their
It was,
credit.
and the thing
And
about I like about the game, it was a low scoring. It was
yeah,
19-17. They
yeah,
they, they,
very
they didn't let
defensive game.
they didn't let San Fran go for big plays, go for big yards, go for big touchdowns. Contained.
It it was a type of game that you just don't see that often in the NFL anymore. A legit
Yes.
upset on turf in like fall weather, in a down market. Just one of those games that you expected it to be this way, and it went a totally different direction, and it was noteworthy.
Yeah, it was definitely noteworthy. And then you look up the scores like 3 seconds later, you see the Jets beating the Eagles. You're like, what the hell is going on today? I'm like, week 6 was crazy. Jets beat the Eagles 20-14. What did you think of that game, Monk?
It was another Cleveland-like game. It was
Yes, it
another
was.
team with, an underappreciated defense that's been coming on all damn year. The Jets are
Hmm.
for real on defense, just like Cleveland is. So
Yes, sir.
both teams have very similar profiles. They have a lot of weakness at quarterback. They both have very strong running games.
Yes.
And of course, they have the receivers, but what they're missing is the quarterback. And they
Yeah.
both have like lights out blitzkrieg defenses.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I was actually not that shocked with that result.
Oh,
Surprised,
okay.
but not shocked. Yeah, because Philly's been asking for it for a while, man. Remember we said last week that their 5-0 was kind of shaky, that they were a
Yes.
shaky number 2 in the top 5 power rankings, but that their 5-0 record, justified their presence. Now you challenged me on that, but that's hardly the point. The
I
point
did.
was
I did. I
served.
did.
The point
But
was
I was
served.
wrong. I was wrong.
Not really. No, you were. You were right. The point was served that Philly was
It's
a
true.
shaky number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Jets came in and showed you why. Right
Mhm.
now, part of that, there's an injury apparently on Philly's offensive line.
Yes, Lane
On
Johnson has been out. Well,
Yeah,
he's
on
been shaky. He's been shaky, and that's affected them greatly. I can tell by
he's
the
on
record.
Hurts's
Yeah.
right side
Yep, he's the left
as an
tackle. Yep.
offensive tackle.
Yep, he's the
Now,
left tackle. Hmm.
it's funny. We talk about MVPs and what type of statistics will show who's an MVP.
Yes.
Apparently, Philly's win record without that guy in the lineup protecting Hurts is like 350.
I
When
I
he
saw that. I saw
when
that
he,
stat. When
when
he's not
he,
playing, they lose.
and they're like 660 winning percentage with him in the lineup.
Yes.
Like, you talk about who's a most fucking valuable player.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
talk about that guy.
And this is something that these are things by the way, this is what we tell you at Unc Phew, man. We go deep. We go deeper
Yeah,
than most shows, man.
yeah.
We go behind the scenes
We're into
because
the offensive line, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like who really is analyzing offensive linemen out here? We are, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So the thing is, you have to think about it like this. Yes, you could make a solid argument that Lane Johnson
yeah,
is the Phillies MVP in general, because think about it like this. You see all these teams trying to do the brotherly shove, you know what I mean? The push, tush, push. Why is Philly so good at it? Their O line is amazing. It's
yeah,
impeccable. You know how many times I've seen teams try to do that? They've failed almost
yeah,
consistently. To have an O lineman who really affects the run game, the passing game, and affects your whole
yeah.
offense, it makes your team more physical. But then
So
you face a team like the Jets, who are incredibly physical on defense.
yeah.
You lose. You
Well,
lose. You lose
and
pretty
I
bad. You
think
got 3 picks for Jalen Hurts. You know?
yeah, exactly. That was a very impressive performance by the Jets D. right?
Oh,
And I think Lane Johnson was out for that game or out for portions of it. I'm pretty sure he's been out for the last week or two. And it's
yeah.
really starting to show up in the performance that Jalen Hurts is delivering offensively. Because remember the first couple of games, they were winning like 38-30 and, games like that, but high scoring, right? You'll notice that
Yes,
like their
yes.
scores have been ticking down week by week, and they've been squeaking out wins tighter and tighter. And they bucked up on the wrong fucking team. Let me tell you that, man. The Jets came to play, right? And
I'm
that
telling you,
defense has been
man. Powerful.
that that
F around
defense
and
has been
find out, dog.
yeah, that defense has been spoiling for a fight against a top tier talent for a while, and they proved themselves. They showed out.
Hmm. Do you
So
think do you agree with what Robert Saleh said after the game, saying that they've been embarrassing top quarterbacks? I had to
yeah, yeah, I
look it up,
did.
and I'm like, is he right?
I saw that.
Was he right?
Kind
Yeah.
of bulletin board material, but you can't really argue with it. He's exactly correct. Yeah, because
Huh.
they knocked Mahomes around too, right? So
Yes.
they've shown a lot of ability. I would, if any team that's playing the Jets right now should be like, they should be double checking the shit because the Jets know
Yeah.
how to play. The Jets know whatever problems they're having on offense, it's mostly at quarterback, right? But if
Yes.
they can get that kid to calm down and just be a game manager, they have a lot of pieces to, you know, to salvage this season that everybody had written off because of the injury to Aaron Rodgers.
And you know the interesting part, I had to look it up, and I'm like, yes, if you look at Mahomes' worst game so far, it was against the Jets. And if it wasn't for that holding call, he would have had three picks. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They had
Yeah,
Josh Allen on three picks. They gave
yep,
Jalen Hurts three picks. So it's
yep,
like if they're if they're playing a good offense or a good team, they're going to make it tough for the quarterback. They're going to make the quarterback make some decisions, and then you have the corners out there who are ready to pick the ball off.
yeah.
So,
F
Robert
around and
Saleh
find
was
out.
right.
F around and find out is
For
exactly
real.
but that's what the nickname should be. The F, the FAFO green.
Yeah, I mean, FAFO Green. If we have any Jet fans listening, man, y'all stop a like. We gave y'all defense a name. Yes, and you're right, man.
I'm loving the
Zach
I'm
Wilson
loving the
needs to
Jets
just
this
play
year.
more. Me too. Me too. When I
Yeah,
get the chance, I tune in.
I respect the Jets this year.
Yes, and you lose a guy who's you literally Hall of Famer walking every day, and that can destroy a team. That
Yeah.
one moment can destroy a team. But they've been rallying, and now they have a 300 record. They're 3-3. Do you think they even have a chance in the playoffs, or is it just one game at a time? What do you think, bro?
A chance to get to the playoffs, you think?
Yeah, like as a distant wild card, or do you think it's just maybe like a eight and nine season, seven
Yeah.
and nine? Like, what do you think?
No, I think they get to double digits. I'm
Double
I'm
digits.
climbing on the Jets bandwagon. I see
Ooh,
10 wins. I see 10 wins for them and an
okay,
outside chance at the number 7 wild card spot. Yeah, it depends on how the rest of the AFC does. But
nice.
yeah,
Okay,
I believe in Robert Saleh and I
me
believe in
too.
that defense. And it's hard to say I believe in Zach Wilson because I don't. But I believe he has the potential if he can just settle down
Yeah.
and just relax. I think like he doesn't have to do that much.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He just needs to get that football, put it in Brees Hall's chest, and then
Secure the ball. That's
sec-
right.
put it in Brees Hall's chest, secure the ball. If you get sacked, make sure you don't cause a fumble. Literally,
That's
don't
it.
throw picks. And you know what?
Yeah.
That's
It's,
it. Don't cause turnovers. You're good. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
No, I it would be quite ironic and very interesting to see, but I'm cheering for it now. And that is if the Jets end
Okay.
up getting one more victory than they did last. Because what were they last year? Weren't they 9-7 last year or something like that, or
Last
nine
year
and
there
eight?
was seven and nine or something like that. Let me just
Okay,
look it
so
up
they had a
right
losing
now. But
record. So
they were outside of the playoffs, but they were,
okay, yes,
mhm,
I remember they were outside of the playoffs, but I couldn't remember whether they were just above 500 or just below. So they were just below. So yes,
just below.
I'm
Yeah.
predicting here right now that the Jets will be above 500 and will have a better season this year with Zach Wilson than they had the previous season, despite losing Aaron Rodgers. So to me, that would be a huge
Oh,
success. and a
Yeah.
real reflection on Robert Sala's character as a coach. Yeah, no, I believe in that guy, man. I like how he fights for his team.
I really like that too, man. And this is a hot take. We're gonna follow up on this. I have a good feeling about the Jets as well, but I like it. We spitting some hot takes today. I fuck with it. I
Yeah.
fuck with it. You know what I mean?
Well,
But you know what? Um, I like that prediction, man. I like it.
it
Mhm.
wouldn't be the first time either that the AFC East has yielded three teams to the playoffs, right? It's
Yes.
entirely possible.
I remember a few years ago when the Jets and New England were really battling it out for the AFC East, and I'm like, bruh, these teams are so neck and neck. They met in the finals, AFC Conference Finals. You remember the Rex
How long
Ryan
ago
days?
was that?
That was a long time ago, dog. I was in high school. I was in high school.
I'm sitting there scratching my head, going like, "What?" Because I know this happens about once a decade, but which time was it?
Yeah, bro. I was like 16. I was like a young kid.
Okay, man. All right.
But you know what? We got let's do week 7. Let's preview week 7 and let's do our
Sure.
regular segments. Let's start off with some fantasy advice. If you have some fantasy gems, jewels for the people listening, man. By the way, slap a like if you're coming in or if you're checking out the video, and if you're here. We need some fantasy advice, Uncle. What are you looking at? You see any trends? Mm-hmm.
Well, I see. I do see a couple of trends. I see
Mm-hmm.
Pacheco in Kansas City is rounding into form.
Yes,
Um, I
yes.
see Calvin Ridley is like, I don't know what's going on over there, but he's causing more than a few fantasy owners some panic, including myself.
Yeah.
He put up a zero burger the other night. Now, this is your number one type of, supposed to be a top 10, receiving talent in the NFL. So he came
Yeah.
out blowing hot, but he hasn't really had a great game since that first or second, and the first game, and then I think his third game were both like, well, quality starts with 100 yards and a touchdown. Calvin Ridley is really starting to become a suspect and disappointing, but he's out of the mix for this week already. He played Thursday night.
Yes.
Um, yeah, but his teammate, on the other hand, Travis Etienne, for the
Yes.
people who drafted him, my goodness, he's really impressing. I think he's the third overall running back in the league right now.
Yes, he
So
is.
and a top 10 fantasy talent. So that's nice to see. Um, Looking at
Mhm.
surprises and whatnot, again, I'm looking at Detroit's backfield. It's a bit of a mess right now. Montgomery's injured.
Oh, yeah.
Jamar Gibbs, I think, is coming back, but
Yes.
that leaves a guy named Craig Reynolds. If you're looking for help on at running back this weekend,
Okay.
who I think will probably see about 15 touches. He'll probably split the backfield field with Gibbs, and
Oh.
yeah. So I see an opportunity there. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a defensive battle in Baltimore this weekend. I think that both Lamar and Goff are going to eat, and I think that
Mm.
all the skill players on both teams will probably do well, including Mr. Reynolds. So there's a
Yes.
fantasy hot take for you right there. Going with Kansas City again as well. Rasheed Rice is rounding into form and looks to be supplanting
Yes.
Sky Moore as
Mhm.
um, as the wide receiver talent there, because we've been asking all season, right? Who is going to be the wide receiver that gives Travis Kelce some help, right? Like Mahomes, I mean, you can feed Kelce all season long, right? The guy's pretty much indestructible, it seems. But,
Mm.
there's clearly opportunity out there for some other receivers, right? And
Yes.
Rasheed Rice is looking like that guy. So start him with confidence.
Mm.
Uh, Another name you might be looking for if you're looking for running back help, McCaffrey has to sit this weekend because of his ribs.
Yeah.
Both Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason, a name very few people know about, proved both serviceable in McCaffrey's absence in the last game against Cleveland. Like, especially Jordan Mason, boy, that guy looked like he had some energy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I saw
one
him
cut,
play a few times. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
one cut runner like straight to the end zone on one play. So, yeah,
Oh.
Jordan Mason looks particularly powerful. Yeah, so names to look out for. Again, also I talked about uh, the Miami backfield.
Mm.
I guess Jeff Wilson is coming back from IR, although he's been available for 3 weeks now, and he still hasn't seen the field. So,
Yeah, yeah, I have him in one of my leagues, and I'm like, why aren't they playing him? What's
yeah,
going on?
some people suggest that might be this weekend, but
Yeah. Mm,
Miami going up against. I don't think any of the Miami running backs are going to do anything significant this weekend against Philly. Philly's like probably the top run defense in the league when it comes to giving up fantasy points. So I wouldn't
yeah,
expect a lot out of Miami's backfield this weekend as far as fantasy starts are concerned. I'm pretty sure that game, although I expect that to be a lights out game.
I think it
Uh,
might be game of the week. Yeah, we're gonna talk about
Y-
that soon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I expect to see it through the air, though. I think Tyreek Hill and Waddle both have huge games.
Hmm.
As do the Philly receivers. So the Philly receivers
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be an air game. It's going to be interesting. So yeah, that's my fantasy looks right now. Trust your Detroit players.
Yes.
I would trust. I would trust Green Bay's players this weekend, also going up against the Broncos for reasons we've discussed at length before.
Yes, we've
But
definitely discussed the Broncos. Yeah.
notably, Jones and Dillon are both back, so both running
Oh,
backs will probably eat.
perfect.
Christian
Perfect.
Watson is probably lined up for a good game, and Jordy Love. So there you go.
Yeah.
I would look for those guys. The other one that's another receiver that looks to take advantage of injuries right now. I mean, you're already starting him anyways, right? But
Yeah.
Hawkinson in Minnesota,
Yes.
Jefferson
Yes.
down. They haven't had any wide receivers really step up to fill that anything like his void. So Hawkinson's your most reliable wide receiver right now in that offense.
Mhm.
So look for Hawkinson to have a big day. Yeah, so those fantasy insights for you.
I like it. I like it. And during those fantasy insights, you kind of talked about some games that are good for some of us bettors, or some games to watch out for. For me, namely, man, I'm gonna start off with this Dolphins versus Eagles game. I think that's going to be a big time
Yeah,
shootout. I think there's going to be
me
whatever
too.
the under is, take the over, bro. You know what I mean?
It's
So,
over 50 points, I think,
yeah, yeah.
or
You know what I
47.
mean? Let me look at the lines and spreads, man. And do you have any games and people can bet a little, a few bucks on, maybe win a little some?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, talk to us, Unc. Hmm.
Well, again, Miami's still the champ when it comes to playing against the spread and against the spread on the road, right? So
Yes, sir.
I'm actually taking Miami in that game. I think it's just what
Mm.
a 2.5 point spread for them to cover.
It's three.
Three
They got the
points.
Eagles, but they got the Eagles -3 though. So I'm all
Yeah,
right.
that's what I'm
So
saying. Like
we'll
Eagles
go with
minus
it.
three. Eagles
Yeah.
-3. Is it in Philly?
It's going to be. Let me check
I'm pretty sure it's in
again.
Philly.
It's yeah. It's in Philly. It's in Philly. Yeah, it's in Philadelphia.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm calling it right now. I'm telling you, Miami's going to cover that spread hopefully, and
Oh,
I feel pretty confident about that. And I think it is going to be the
nice.
script that you're describing. I think it's going to be a shootout. Yep.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
but I think that Miami manages to get within that number.
Nice.
And do I expect Philly to lose? It's quite possible that they could. They're having couple of struggles right now,
They can
and
go in a slump. Yeah.
yeah, and Miami has its own issues on defense, but we've clearly seen that this McDaniels fella can scheme up some points. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling it might be like 38-35 or something like that. But, you know,
I'll
so yeah,
put a little bucks on that. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think I will. You know what I
the
mean?
other one that I love,
Hmm.
and you're going to hate it because this is like the second week in a row I busted on your Ravens, but I think Detroit covers
Oh,
against
you
the
think Detroit
Ravens
covers? Okay,
on the road, on turf, like they did against Tampa Bay. But I have a feeling that's going to be a big game. I think that take the over in
yes.
that game. Take
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
over in that game. Both Lamar and Goff are going to have major portions of food. I believe. I think that this is going to be a receiving game.
Yes, me
I
too.
think that the running games are going to be stifled,
Mm,
both because of injuries and also because of that Detroit defensive line is difficult against the run. So I believe this will be an aerial show. So
Yeah,
look
me
for
too.
this game also to be maybe not quite, in the 30s, but like 28, 24, something like that.
Mhm.
But I see Detroit coming through on this and maybe even for the win. Dude. So
Yeah, because they
they're
have the Ravens favored by 3, but I think it's a pick 'em. It's can go both ways. You know what I mean?
and
It is
and
kind
here's
of
the
baked in because it's a home game for the Ravens, but still, it's gonna be potentially the game of the week, man. You know what I mean?
yes, it is
Yeah.
potentially also a game of the week. But listen
Mhm.
to this too.
Talk to me.
Guess who the next team who's 5-1 against the spread and 3-0 against the spread on the road? I'll give you three guesses, and the first two don't count. It starts and
Oh,
ends with the name Detroit.
oh snap.
So,
Really?
yeah, dude, I'm kind of playing those numbers when I make that bold prediction.
That's good playing with the odds, honestly, because I didn't know they were that good against the spread, man.
The
Really?
numbers are there for a reason, bro.
Oh shit, man. Okay, I might. I don't even know if I even feel comfortable betting against my team, man.
Yeah, no, you got to go. You got to go with your team, dude.
I gotta go with my
You got to
squad.
go with your team, man. Yeah,
But you
yeah.
know what? Let's analyze really. Let's get into an analysis of the game of the week in general, man. And we're gonna talk about it. The game of the week is clearly the Lions versus the Ravens, man,
Yeah,
because
I
the
think so.
implications are huge. You're looking at two teams that have been trending upwards with wins. You're looking at two teams which have, kind of have to prove themselves, but not really. And they're two of the top teams. Unc, what are you looking for in this game? Because I agree, it will be an aerial type of game, but we have to keep in mind the Lions have a very good defense. You know what I mean?
Hey,
That's something that people don't talk about on top of their great offense. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. No, they're solid all around. Listen, man. In some universes, this is a Super Bowl preview, right?
Yes.
If
Yes.
things break the right way for both teams, they could easily find themselves playing for a Super Bowl this year.
100%.
Yeah, both
100%.
teams have that type of talent and ability. Should things break the right way for them, and if they continue on the trajectories that they're on right now. So to see these two guys going at it, hammer and tong, I cannot wait to watch that game. That's going to be a great game. Yeah, look for Zay Flowers to have a big game, and
Yes,
the
sir.
other one, what's the name? Andrews, tight end.
Mark Andrews. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Guess where the one weakness is in the Detroit defense?
Oh, their
Against the
linebackers. Their
against the
tight
tight
ends.
end. That's the one place where they give up
Oh,
points. So look for Mark Andrews to make an impact this weekend. I'm pretty sure you're going to see that.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Look for him to have like 65 yards and a TE, right? So I mean, everybody's starting him anyways, but I'm just saying, right? Like it's crossed, right?
Yeah.
I think him and Lavar are going to have decent games. I doubt very much either team's running game is going to get going. I don't think that's going to be big for either team. So it's
Yeah.
going to be in the air, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I cannot wait. I'm fixing to watch that game. To me, that's the game of the week, in my opinion. I think that Miami and Philly is going to be a close second.
Oh, that's gonna be
Also,
good too. Yeah.
the Chargers game against KC should be a typical AFC West,
Oh,
so it should be entertaining as well too. Interesting spread
yes.
on that game. Interesting spread on that game.
Oh, let's give
Chargers
it
are
away.
favored. Chargers are the underdog, I should say, but it's only 5.5 points.
No,
So
really?
everybody, all the KC money's going like beat the Chargers by a touchdown, easy, right? They're giving us, a five and a
Yeah,
half point
yeah.
spread, some breathing room,
They're
right?
giving us
So a
five
lot
and
of
a
people
half. Yeah.
want to pile on the KC side this week, and I can't really blame them. So
I can't blame him either because the Chargers find ways to lose embarrassing games and
yeah,
they lose close games, but
they're
five and
not
a half.
efficient right now,
That's kind of big. I don't know. Isn't that kind
and
of
well,
big? I
no,
don't know.
no, because no, the Chargers defense is playing lights out right now.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. They're giving them
yeah,
five and
no,
a
they are.
half.
Chargers D is probably one of the best in the NFL right now. I consider them top three. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
no,
Okay, I
and the
get
way the
you. I get
Chargers are
you.
playing right now, I do not consider that a large spread. I would consider 7.5 points a large spread, but I
Oh,
consider
okay.
anything under 6 points to be a gift for bettors on the KC side.
Oh
And
yeah, 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 yeah. I see what you're
they're
saying. Yeah, I
also
see it as
they're
the
also
different.
calling for a high over under on that one again, somewhere between 47 and 50 points, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And
check right now. Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
also a possible game of the week.
They're
But
giving it over an under 40 48. So they're
48. So
expecting
they're
some
expecting that to be the
high score.
usual AFC West aerial show. So
Yeah,
yeah, but I have a feeling that I would take the under on that, man, because
I would take the under as well.
I don't think that game is going to be as explosive as the bookmakers are looking, because just simply because I don't trust the Chargers to really produce against that defense.
And
So
an
I
underrated
don't.
narrative that we people don't
Yeah,
talk about is that the Chiefs defense has been winning them games, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's
We
not like
talked about it last week. We
we
talked about
did.
that last week.
We did. And think about it. The Chiefs defense is keeping them in games, is causing turnovers, is closing out games. Mahomes is not throwing for 300, 400 yards
No,
as
he's
much.
not.
Because he's limited. He doesn't have a receiver to do that. It's the
Precisely.
defense that's causing like a lot of trouble. So yes, I agree with you. You have to take the under. I would take the
Yeah.
under 48
So
points.
so
Absolutely. You know
that
what I
one is a
mean?
potential game of the week. But you know what? To me, that's just another weekend in the AFC West. To me, that game is not spectacular. I think that the Detroit Baltimore game is a real test, and I think
Okay.
that Philly Miami game is going to be mad. It's going to be mad interesting. That's going to be,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And you know what?
High entertainment. A high entertainment factor is going to be part of that Miami Philly game. That's going to be lights out. That's going to rock.
It's it could go two ways, right? It could go two ways because that is also a preview of a Super Bowl matchup. We could see Miami versus the
Yes,
Eagles, but you
yes.
know what's interesting? It could go two ways. Remember when we were hyped a few weeks ago for the Cowboys versus the Niners, and then it was a complete beatdown, like it's like a complete massacre. We could have something like that too because a few weeks ago we were excited for Miami versus the
Hmm.
Dolphins. That's like Miami versus Buffalo, and
Yep,
Buffalo completely destroyed Miami.
yep.
So I have a feeling one of these games will be blowouts. Hopefully, not my Ravens. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But there's a blowout opportunity in these
Well,
games you just mentioned. There's
I,
a blowout chance. You know what I mean?
I think what makes both of these games potential games of the week candidates in the first place is
Hmm.
the fact that because yes, it is interconference play for one, but
Yeah.
also two, yes, we are going to find out something about both teams involved, about all
Yes,
four
sir.
teams involved in both games. Significant things that we need to know. Whether or not Detroit is a pretender, is Baltimore a pretender,
Yeah.
and the same thing with Philly and Miami. Can they withstand each other's offensive onslaughts? Right? Can their
Yes.
defenses? Can one of the defenses neutralize the other? The other offense. So yeah, yeah, it feels like the introduction to the Days of the Week soap opera. But yeah, these and many other questions will be answered on this week's edition of the NFL.
NFL.
Yeah, right. So
Real shit. Real
yeah, so
shit.
there's some storylines there. There are some storylines there that are indeed worth following, and I cannot wait to see how they play out.
And the thing is, when we look at these teams and these games, it leads us to our next segment of our top five power rankings. We're looking at these teams that are playing each other, which is a gift. The scheduling gods are on point. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
we're talking about top five teams. And if you look at the top five power rankings, for me, I'm hesitant to say it, but are we putting Detroit as the number one team in the league right
Yeah.
now? Are they two? Or like I don't know. Unc, give us your top five. I'm gonna give you my top five right after. You know what I mean?
Okay. So a
Mm,
couple changes from last week, but I would
yeah,
still keep San Francisco in the number one spot.
yeah.
They played probably the number one defense in the damn league, and they just came up a field goal short. So yeah, I would keep San Francisco there.
Mhm.
Part of that would be also we're far enough into the season now that if you look at the points for, points against,
Mm,
San Francisco is very dominant. They have by far the widest gap. I think it's almost 100 points difference between their points for and their points against.
okay.
Right. So, yeah, to me, San Francisco is still your lock solid number one team. But following your lead from last week, I would probably put the Chiefs with that defense now at your
Yeah.
number two ranking. I would
Yeah.
put them at number two, solidly at number two. And then at number three, four, and five, now we get a bit of a juggle here because we are starting to see some weakness. I would probably have Philly at number three still, probably put
Okay.
Miami at number four or five, but Detroit would supplant either the Bills or Miami, one of those two. And it'd probably be Miami, to be honest. Because
Yeah.
if you take out that 70-20 win that they had, if they'd like scored even 35 points less, their points for and their points against suddenly becomes very modest, more like 35, 40 points, like Baltimore.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, yeah. Whereas the Bills have they haven't scored. No one scored collectively. The Bills have given up less than 80 points on the year. Now they haven't
Mm.
scored. They haven't scored 200, and they've had too many interceptions. So, but the Bills are playing reasonably efficient. So yeah. So that three, four, and five ranking is sort of a toss up between Miami, the Bills, and Detroit. But Detroit definitely is in the rankings. They've got to be.
I'd the only thing I'd change there is I'd put maybe Detroit at number three. You know what I mean? I'd
Yeah.
maybe switch them up instead of the Eagles. I'd put them up there because I put them up above the Eagles because
You would, huh?
yes, because I'm telling you right now, I think the Eagles have a high chance of losing this game to Miami. I'm being real with you. And
Hmm.
now we're looking at a 5-2 team, and Detroit could come out of this 6-1. And just the flow of how Detroit is winning, the quality of wins. These are not just slaps on the wrist. Oh, we made
Yeah.
it, field goal. No, they're
They
getting
opened this.
multiple touchdowns, and they're out here just bombing on teams. So I'm
They
like,
opened the
you know.
season with a win against KC.
Yes, yes, that's Kansas City's only
Right.
loss, right?
Yeah.
So
There
for
have been.
me, I put Detroit a bit higher, but probably number three because, like you said, I agree with San Fran at number one, Chiefs number two, and then I'm gonna
Right.
put Detroit right after, and then the 3 to 5 range that gets a little iffy because then if I go Detroit number three, I probably will go Eagles number four and then Miami number five. But
Well,
yeah, you can switch it up as you
I'll
feel.
tell you what. I'll tell
Mm.
you what. I will agree to Detroit at number three if they come out victorious against Baltimore this weekend.
Yeah.
And if Miami defeats Philly, I'll gladly put Philly down at number four too, and put Miami on top of them.
Miami up there,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, maybe even put Philly down at five. Who knows, right? So a
You're
lot
gonna
will
learn a
be
lot.
a lot will be revealed this weekend. That's what makes these games so intriguing in this week 7.
I think that's the best part about this week because yes, we're gonna learn a lot about teams, and you know what? That's the best thing about football. We're watching games, we're learning about teams, we're learning about each other. We're probably sipping on some drink or watching, hoping our team actually makes it. Yeah, I mean, we get a few bucks. You know what I mean?
Pittsburgh's on the road. Pittsburgh's on the road in LA this weekend.
Oh, Pittsburgh's on the road. That's a home game for y'all, man. Trust me.
Yeah, maybe right again with that LA factor, but it's going to be kind of fun to watch TJ Watt and Highsmith try to tee off on Stafford
Oh,
because Stafford's not that mobile.
not at all. Not at all.
Right, right. But like if he gets the ball out of there before they get there, right? But I mean, Nakula's probably going to eat all damn day. But you know who returns this weekend?
Who?
Deontay Johnson. Right?
Oh,
So if he's
nice.
again, fantasy players, if you have him on your bench, has been sitting around waiting for him to start up. He's coming up again this weekend. So now Kenny Pickett has both Pickens and Deontay Johnson. So he's got a twin pair of receivers now. Got the Mach 2 Rockets. Watch out.
I'm thinking like this, man. The Steelers have actually surprised me this year, and they're atop the AFC North, right? And they're playing good football. They're not blowing teams out of the water. Their offense is not going crazy, but they're squeaking out wins. And I'm
The
like,
defense.
bruh,
No, it's
what?
just the defense. It's
It is
defense
the
is the good
defense.
luck. But let me
Yeah.
tell you, buddy. Let me tell you, I'm going to
Mm,
watch that game against LA, and I'm going to
mm.
cheer the hell out of my Steelers, and I'm just going to hope against hope You know what I mean? That the defense keeps them in the game, that it's entertaining, that, I get the win out of it and all that type of stuff. But I'm just going to sit down and watch that game as a fan because
Of
I'm
course.
very interested to watch LA and I want to see how my Steelers go up against them. It's an unusual thing. Steelers don't travel out west that often.
Oh
I think
yeah.
it's a later game, the 4 o'clock game, so it won't
Yeah,
feel
it's a
too
4 o'clock
foreign to
game.
them.
Mm.
But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to watch that game as a fan, just as a pure straight up fan, because I don't have any fantasy players from Pittsburgh on my team.
I,
Um, that's just
yeah,
because I'm a pragmatist, right? And I like to think a winner in fantasy football. So yeah, I'm just gonna watch that as a homer and cheer on my Steelers and just enjoy the game of football. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. 'Cause that's always a good time.
Yeah.
But I got a topic for our overtime OT with Unc and Phew, man. And I like this.
Okay, now,
If y'all made it this far, man, slap a like on the live stream on the video.
please.
You know what I mean? Helps us grow, helps us do our
Yeah, the
thing.
like the like is the biggest thing, man. Give us that like, give us that thumbs up, like and subscribe. But really, yeah, give us that like. If you've enjoyed any of the things that we've had to say here, any of the insights, any of the authenticity that we like to bring on this
Oh yeah.
yeah, please like that like button. Hit that like button.
Yeah, smack it like this. Pow! Like the video. But my OT topic is kind of football related, kind of not. But have you noticed? I don't know if you've seen this, right?
What's that
And
now?
some people have talked about it recently. Do you think that NFL offenses are kind of lagging behind NFL defenses? And I bring that up because last week, if you look at a lot of the games, most of the games in week 6 were less than, they were like 19-17, 20-14. They were not high scoring games. Very few games past 30. Very few teams scored more than 30 points. You know what I mean? And it's been a trend recently that people are noticing. Obviously, there's a lot of flags in games, you know what I mean? But do you think, and I have a theory, that defenses have advanced so much that the offenses are not keeping up? Now we have exceptions like Miami, we have exceptions like San Francisco, but you don't see these 30-point games no more. You don't see it that much. What do you think, Unc? Am I being conspiracy theorist, or I would like have you noticed that? You know what I mean?
No, no, I just think that there's so much metadata as far as
Mm,
the points per game and all that type of stuff is concerned. It's hard to really discern for sure. You
yeah.
got the long wave of history versus recent experience and all that type of thing. I think early on in the first month of the season, it's very typical for either the offenses or the defense, depending on the season, to sometimes get the drop on the other. It depends on the trends of the league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or maybe some change in the rules or something like that, as far as wide receivers or hands on the quarterbacks is concerned, things of that nature. So it can vary from season to season, but yes, it does occur where, statistically speaking, in a general sense, the offense is either ahead of the defense or vice versa. That absolutely does happen.
Mm,
What would I say about now? Uh, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
like New Orleans put a whooping on the Patriots last week, 38-0, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
these random games happen where you get that 70-20 game or whatever. Like random games of offense certainly occur, but I think the NFL in general,
Mm.
decades, has been a sub 30 scoring type of league. Like in
Really?
general,
Like
yeah,
even in the 90s, there weren't like a
yeah,
lot of points. It
yeah.
was always like that middle 20 type, 20, 21,
My
24, 28, 19
my
type of thing.
average
Yeah.
my average expectation of an NFL game is 27-24,
Yeah, that's
or
what people
some
think of.
formula like that, 24-21. A
Yeah.
3 point difference in the game, a 3 to 6 point difference in the score, and generally speaking, on average, under 30 points. And
Oh, okay.
right, that to me, that is your typical NFL game. And there are some variations from time to time where you get like the 17-19, the 13-10 game. These
Yeah.
are outliers as much as the 38-35 game. So yeah, to
Oh,
me, generally speaking, most NFL games score, under the winning score is usually under 30 points. I bet you if you check the stats, I bet you 65 to 70% of the last 30 years games add up to that.
that kind of makes sense. I just like for me, just watching games. I mean, watching an NFL Red Zone or just watching just game as it
Hmm.
is. Sorry, I just noticed less touchdowns. I don't see a lot of explosive offenses as much. Now, of course, every season there's always a team that's like out of this world. It's usually the Chiefs, you know what I mean, recent times. But it's very rare that we see offensive explosions that much. And it just led me to think like the defenses are looking really good. You see a lot of
Well,
big time quarterbacks getting a lot of picks. You see a lot of big time quarterbacks getting a lot of fumbles. And
mm,
I'm like, are these defensive coordinators scheming things better? Are these like, you know what I mean? It's very
well,
rare you have a Kyle Shanahan figure. It's like more rare
it's
than, you know what I
it,
mean?
it it's been my observation over the last 20 years of watching football.
Mm,
Phenomena started occurring in the early 2000s, where I started observing that defensive players had really increased their speed. Okay,
yeah.
so we're talking about middle
Yes.
linebackers, corners, all these guys regularly running, 4.6 and under in the 40, like
Yes.
big guys, quick, right?
Yes.
And I started noticing that mostly in the Southeastern Conference when I was living in Florida back then.
Oh,
Just exact, yeah, because you can't. The one thing you cannot teach that much is speed,
yes.
and the South has got a lot of speed. And
Mm,
I started seeing linebackers going like side to side, sideline to sideline with running backs in the backfield and whatnot. Like these guys
oh,
were
wow.
able to keep up,
Wow.
right? And so, yeah, and so you started to see rules against the defense starting to come into play in the late 90s and the 2000s. We started slowly getting to this point now where we jokingly say that, it's going to be flag football with the quarterbacks and all that type of stuff, right? Well, why is that happening? Well, one, because, the quarterbacks are so valuable. We've discussed that at length. But
Of course.
also, two, because the defenses are getting so damn effective, right? If you allowed these modern defensive players to operate like Lawrence Taylor did and whatnot 25 years ago, like, fuck,
Oh,
man, like
yeah.
quarterbacks would be going down like six a week. You would have to have like a quarterback roster six deep to get through the damn season,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. You're
So
absolutely
I
right.
believe that defensive players in general in the NFL and the college ranks have simply become faster,
Mm,
quicker, better trained, stronger,
yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
Like, yeah, man, like defensive
No.
players are no damn joke. And they're quick now in a way that they were not 25 years ago, in my opinion.
And that's kind of what I was maybe hinting at, or maybe I didn't phrase it correctly, is that there's a lot of really skilled defensive players now who are
Yeah,
incredibly fast.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you're like, damn, this dude just
And
came in the
that's
backfield
scary, dude. Are
in
you
2
kidding me? Like,
seconds. And I'm
fuck.
like, imagine if TJ Watt was allowed to give a Lawrence Taylor hit. Oh, these guys are done. You'd have to
Joe
like get
Theis-
him out the game. You know what I mean?
Joe Theismann doesn't know how good he had it back then.
Right.
if
And then
if modern defensive players were allowed to like
get
do what
teed
they
off.
did even like 20
Oh,
years ago,
yeah.
like yeah, yeah, like NFL owners would be pissed because they're
They'd be
they're
mad.
fucking 150, 200, 300, $400 million contracts that they're investing in quarterbacks.
Oh.
It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
You remember like when I was younger, right? You know how like when they do like those previews for the game, you know what I mean? Those little
yeah, yeah,
advertisements,
yeah.
NFL this week, whatever. We're gonna have this team was this team. They had certain parts of the promo or the preview with just like a highlight of hard tackles, of big hits of the week or hit of the week or some shit
Oh
like that.
yeah, for
Where
sure.
you have a safety like decleat, like a receiver, you have
Yeah,
like
yeah. Just
Brian
knock some
Dawkins,
guy. Just
yeah,
knock
just
some
straight up
guy out of his
knocked
shoes.
out. Yeah, I mean, and I'm like, so especially with the player safety, I understand why the NFL is trying to go away from that, but I think it's been a little bit to the detriment of some offenses. Tom Brady kind of talked about this
I was
where
about to bring him up.
yeah, where
This
offenses
fucking
are
guy.
not looking as crisp. And then for me, I'm like, are they are they using the rules? Are they not using the rules? Uncle, you kind of touched on that. You touched on that a little bit with
Did
defense getting better. You know what I mean?
Did you hear what Rob Gronkowski had to say about what Brady had to say?
No, no, I didn't hear it. What did he say?
Well, Gronk actually came out on the side of the defense, and he
Oh,
agreed
cool.
that the league was getting soft. He
Yeah, of
said
course.
the league was getting soft. And then he laughed at Brady, saying, "Well, that's fascinating that Tom's talking like that now that he's out of the damn league." He said Brady was the poster child for the league turning soft because so many rules, I should say, were changed for that player. And
Yes.
so many like calls went his way, and so many sympathetic perspectives from the refs when it came to him. And then that spread like ripples throughout the league to quarterbacks in general, which has led us to the state where we jokingly say that, it's going to be all flag football sooner or later, which was a reference that Brady made exactly in his comments this week, comparing the league to flag football.
Yes.
He said it's going to be in the Olympics in the 2028 Olympics. So, and he was like, basically like comparing it to, to women's flag football kind of thing. And I thought that was unfair, but his point is
Yeah.
well made that the league has transitioned in a way that is very identifiable. But it's for money, man. Like these guys are way too valuable, and also too
Mm.
like serious. We've seen what's happened with the CTE scandal. Like the league does not is to be perceived as a gladiatorial contest where players can get hurt and
It's a,
die. And if
it,
not on the field today, then 10 years from now from CTE. Like
yeah.
it's a bad look for the NFL as a brand. And at the end of the day, these players are human beings. They got labor rights like everybody else. But these
Yeah.
are all changing sensibilities within society as a whole that is being played out and reflected in the NFL. So yeah, okay. Maybe we are becoming a bit softer in our sensibilities and whatnot, a little bit more protective. Starting to look at all these NFL players. Oh, you're somebody's son. Goddamn right they are. Right? And they
Wow.
deserve protection.
And
So
that's the interesting part that you said that because Tom Brady said the right message, but it's the wrong messenger
the wrong
clearly.
guy,
Because it's like,
the wrong guy
bruh,
to
you
deliver
done
that
benefit,
message.
you done benefited 20 years of this, play calling, and I think that actually added to his career because Tom Brady was able to manipulate the rules in certain ways to play until 45. Come on, man, you
You
think when
think
he was faking some shit, you know what I mean? And I remember the specific point. Bernard Pollard, he was a safety. I think he was playing for the Ravens at this point. He hit Tom Brady in the knee, right?
mm,
Busted his knee. Tom Brady was out for the season, and they had like Matt Carousel, whatever, some random.
Matt Castle.
There you go, playing for New England for a full season, but they made a rule against hitting quarterbacks at the knee. So
Yeah.
this rule literally came into effect because of Tom Brady. So
Oh, for
it
sure.
changed the whole course of like playing, of really hitting a quarterback. Like when you look at players hitting quarterbacks now, they look at the ref right after just to make
Yeah.
sure. Am I
Yeah.
good? You know what I
No.
mean? And
Gronk
Brady ushered in that era, man. He brought
Gronk
that
was
in. You know what I mean?
Gronk was very pointed talking about Brady in his last couple of seasons. Like he
Yeah.
might as well have just played with that red practice jersey on. Like I'm serious. Like the calls Brady got, like, oh my God, it's like you barely touched the guy. 15-yard
Barely.
penalty. 15-yard penalty.
Automatic first down, and now they're in the
Yeah.
red zone. I'm like,
So
what?
yeah. So I
Ah,
mean, he's not wrong. Okay,
yeah,
yes, the league's gotten softer, but there's reasons for that.
yeah,
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, Joe Theismann's career was ended in a millisecond, in a heartbeat. He's bitter about it to this day. Just listen to him.
Oh
um,
shit, he's still mad.
well,
I'd be
he
mad
doesn't
too.
say as much, but I mean, I've listened to him over the years, and yeah, like there's a certain petulance about Joe Theismann when he's talking about other players in the league and whatnot. He definitely sounds like somebody whose career was cut short by
Yeah.
someone he didn't really approve of in the first place. Joe Theismann's a bit of a whatever, but
Yeah, he's kind of
yeah, he's
has
a bit judgmental. He's kind of like your typical
he's a
white frat
boomer.
boy.
He's a
He's just
boomer.
yeah, well, just he's been blessed all his life, and from the time he was at Notre Dame all the way through, and he's just never recognized it. You know what I mean? It's like Craig T. Nelson saying, like, "Oh, I was on welfare, and nobody helped me." Right? You just said you were on welfare, Craig T. Nelson. Nobody helped you. But I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, Theismann got taken out. His career ended, right?
Yes, he did.
And
Yeah,
just long before people were paid $150 million over 5 years as quarterbacks or whatever, 8 years.
yeah.
So yeah, a lot of players, yeah, and the Mike Webster story, of course, is tragic, and we're seeing more and more of these over the years. The NFL has to protect its players better. Its fans expect it as much. And
Mhm.
it cannot be the same meat grinder it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, even
I will,
2000.
I will say this though, that yes, of course, player safety is important, but what I hate personally is seeing so many flags in games, so many unnecessary roughness. Where I'm like, really, are we really? Was it that rough? Was it
Yeah,
where you have calls that are deciding games, deciding Super Bowls, namely that pass interference that happened with Juju Smith-Schuster in the Super Bowl
yeah, it's a
last year.
touchy subject.
Like those calls that literally decide games and championships, I get frustrated by that because I'm thinking in the back of my
Yeah,
mind, okay, yes, you want players to be safe, but at what cost? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well,
Jalen Hurts played an amazing Super Bowl, and we lost that because of a questionable pass
yeah.
interference. And I
Well,
just don't like that. I don't like
I
calls deciding games. I just it piss me off sometimes, you know?
ideally, what you would love to have
Yeah.
is kind of like how refs in the NBA and the NHL do. They get through sort of into this period, like into the third period of high stakes games and whatnot, and they
Yeah.
do what's called burying the whistle. They just keep it in their
Mhm.
pocket. Um, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Yes.
they're just sort of letting the players sort it out, unless
Yes.
you see something really egregious and
Yeah.
chippy. You kind of just let the players sort it out at this point because it's like fucking game 5, 6, or 7 of the playoffs, and they're
Yes.
grinding it out. I mean, this is what people paid to see,
And
right?
that's why playoff football is so good because
Yeah,
it's almost
they
like an
sometimes do
unwritten
that.
contract. Sometimes it's like an unwritten contract where the refs just kind of shove the whistle in their pocket and chill
Yeah,
out. And those are the best games, bro.
yeah.
Those
When
are the
when you
best
let the
games.
players play, damn Skippy.
Yeah, and you know what? Just something that I would introduce if I was like an NFL official or whatever. I would introduce more challenge flags for coaches. You know what I mean? Where they can challenge certain calls by the refs. So the refs, instead of having a defensive pass interference or whatever unnecessary roughness, I'm gonna throw an extra flag and I'm gonna let them review it up in the booth and then decide instead of just on the field. Oh my God, Tom Brady is going on a game-winning drive. Let's give him a call. Nope. Let me throw
Yeah,
another flag. Give the coaches more leeway, more chances to challenge some of the calls. That's what I
yeah.
would love that. You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah. Except for the fact that I don't like the effect that has on the flow of the game.
Okay.
What I really want is the refs to just call it consistently. Because if the refs call it
Yes.
consistently, the players can adapt accordingly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all I want to see. And yes, when they get in the fourth quarter, like let it be really egregious before you just because the other alternative that happens too, and we've seen this, like before there was the video replay and the
Yes.
instant replay, before, like, all it was just constantly the same thing, the same complaint, but the opposite. every weekend about like, oh my God, they missed this call again. Why can't we have more, video replay? Why can't we have any video replay? Blah blah. Well, now that you have that, now people are like, the games are taking so long. All these
Yeah.
interruptions. We're losing flow. Just call the game consistently all the time and bear that whistle when once you get to high stakes points in the game, and just like, yeah, just call the game
No.
consistently,
Yeah.
and don't make it about you, the refs. And I know they don't do that on purpose, but it sometimes ends up looking like that.
It's like, bro, why am I looking at zebra stripes all the damn time, dog?
Right.
Let the players do their thing, dog.
Right.
It's
Ed
crazy.
Hockley wants to show you his guns.
Or just show you his muscles. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, man. But you know what? We're gonna show y'all out, man. So like the video on y'all way out, man. This
Yes,
is
please.
overtime with Unc and Phew, man. We definitely gave the NFL rules committee some ideas if y'all listening
Yeah.
somehow. Roger Goodell, if you hear me. You know what I mean? But no, that was a great one, Unc. Any last words before we let the people go, man? You know what I mean?
One love and enjoy your football.
Let's do it, man. On that note, we out. We
All
out.
right.
And